Hello, everyone. How are you doing? And welcome to another episode of the Dr. Will Show, where I have this is the second interview I've done today where I've actually messed up my intro. Ain't that something? Where I interview educators and entrepreneurs on leveling up. Each episode, I zoom in someone who's dope, and we have a conversation on what it means to live your best life. And today, my guest with me is Carjie Scott, whom I came across on social media. I was reading her blog, and I said, there's something there. And I wanted her to come on the blog to share some insight and hopefully get you more excited about your life and how you can take more control over what you want and go get it. And so for those who will be watching on YouTube and YouTube, and we'll be listening on SoundCloud and iTunes, will you please introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Carjie Scott, and I'm excited to be on your podcast, Will. You've interviewed some extraordinary people who are trying to make a change and who believe in a quality education and creating success. So I consider it a privilege and an honor to be interviewed by you today. You're doing great things, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Alhamdulillah. I take no credit. I always tell people that I'm just a man with a Zoom. So, everyone has their origin story. How did they get to where they are now? How did they become who they are? Who is Carjie Scott, and what drew you to higher ed?
So I am a wife. I am a mother of two. I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, and I was raised to believe that I can be whoever I want to be. I can do whatever I want to do as long as I continue to learn and I continue to value education. Well, my mom was a victim of domestic violence, so I lost her when I was 6 years old. But the memories that I do have of her are of her reading and writing with me and dropping me off at preschool, quite frankly. And I still remember the look in her eyes when she did that. So her legacy lives on through me, in that I have decided to continue my education. And not only has the education that I've achieved helped me to fulfill what she instilled in me as a child, but it has widened my scope of vision. It's created opportunities for me, and it has changed my family, and hopefully the generations that come after me. So my mom drew me to higher education, and she continues to keep me motivated even today.
That's all right. You already started like I don't have nothing to wipe my eye with but this curtain.
Yeah.
So what role does a belief in oneself or a belief in something bigger than the individual play in one fulfilling their dream?
So, well, I think that everyone dreams of being successful. And the definition of success for me is very personal. But depending on who you ask, the definition of success could change. For me, a byproduct of success is great relationships, money, maybe a dream career, maybe respect or power. Those are byproducts of success. My personal definition of success is being happy. No matter my situation, no matter if I'm rich or poor, it is finding peace. It's being free to do what I want, when I want, without having to answer to anyone. And not having worry or fears or holding grudges. Just a quality of life, a faith-filled life, and just being happy. And that's a dream that I have that's bigger than myself, right? Because every day we all struggle with finding happiness and the pursuit of happiness. And so that's my big dream.
So I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say that because you said something, and I'm looking at you, and I know where you work. So I'm gonna save what I was gonna throw out there to you after this.
Okay.
So what is the most challenging part of removing the self-limitations we place on ourselves? And when thing isn't working the way you expect it, how do you handle the inner critic?
So for me, I have had to be critical of myself at a young age because I didn't have anyone to give me that unconditional love, which is something that a mother typically provides. I've had to learn the hard way in situations. So the most challenging part in my life, I believe, is overcoming obstacles and fear. So I think a lot of people are capable of doing a lot of things, but I think that the fear factor is what stops them and what their biggest self-limitation is. The fear of the unknown, the fear of failure. But I'm working on that, Will. I'm not perfect at that. I still have my fears. I mean, I'm a wife, I'm a mom. You and I have had conversations, and my husband is in school, so we're living on my income for the most part. He does little things, but he's in school, so he's not, working a full-time salary job. So that was, a faith over fear moment, having to uproot our family so that he could pursue a goal to become a dentist. So I feel like the most challenging part of removing one's self-limitations is to know that you can overcome obstacles and know that fear is false evidence appearing real. You don't feed your fears, feed your faith. And then you'll overcome your self-limitations. And how do I handle my inner critic? I don't handle my inner critic. I let my inner critic criticize me. I welcome criticism because it's constructive, and nobody loves me more than me. So my inner critic is just a realist. When I may appear too optimistic, almost flighty because I'm too optimistic, my inner critic keeps me leveled. So I value and I nurture my inner critic.
So now I want to throw this out there to you, because I've interviewed women of color who work in higher ed on the podcast, and I have friends who are women of color who work in higher ed, and sometimes, well, they've told me about times in which people didn't see them as the professional they are, where people would say, doctor, it'll be their first name. Or your professor, oh, I didn't know, you don't look like a professor. Being a woman of color in higher ed, how do you, I guess, move forward if you have experienced that, and do so in a way in which you keep your cool and you keep focused on the end game of where you're trying to go?
So that's a great question. I work at one of the top ranked research institutions in the country. I know we're in the top 20. We might be at number 14 right now. So there are not many people here who look like me. And I am on a level where I serve as an associate director. So I hire temp workers and student workers, and their success is my success. So the jobs or tasks that I assign to them, if they do them well, they get the credit. And when they do it wrong, I take the blame. That's one way of remaining cool and level-headed. I have had, issues whereas I felt like I wasn't valued. Today is actually my 3-year anniversary of working at this university. And I will say my first year was rough. It's just hard walking into an institution like mine, and just being in awe at the buildings and the language and the prestige and just the experts around you. And then trying to seek out, where are the ones that look like me? Like, who am I supposed to relate to? That was a challenge my first year. But now that I'm in my third year, I've managed to create my mark, and create opportunities in the space that has been given to me. So I work in operations. I don't really work with students at all. Majority of my tasks are done over the computer, reports, automating manual processes, things of that nature. Although I am an extrovert and I do love talking to people, I have created relationships on campus in different committees so that I could let my light shine and I could show who I am as a professional. I have not allowed other people to control the narrative of who I am. So I am a member of the Martin Luther King Commemorative Series, which is important to me because it services our students of color and the entire Vanderbilt community because it engages them on civil action and awareness while we honor Dr. King's legacy. I'm a member of the university staff and advisory council, and I was elected to serve on that council by my peers, which was something that I consider to be proud of. And now I'm on the executive committee for that council. So yes, I have had challenges as a woman of color. I would not be telling you the honest truth if I didn't feel like I had challenges, but those challenges were because we are limited here. And at first I could not figure out how or who I could relate to. But now as I've been able to keep this position and find other ways to market myself across the campus, I have been able to figure out who I do relate with, even people who don't look like me, and how our paths intersect. I've been able to use that to create relationships with people.
Mm-hmm. So how does someone set like audacious goals for themselves, right? Because in my field with teachers and I'm working with them, some of them say, I want to be a principal or I want to be this. And I'm not saying those are not lofty goals, but those are just sort of a normal step in the ladder if you keep working and you get a couple of degrees. But when you sit down and say, this is my mega goal, I want to do this. Like, how does someone sit down and say, wow, I want to end world hunger or whatever, some big audacious goal? And how do they go about building the type of network who is not going to only support them and say, yes, you can do it, but is going to hold them accountable to do so, where they will say, Carjie, you said you wanted to do this. Are you working on it? Mm-hmm. What are you doing? So how does someone do that?
So I really appreciate the way you framed that question, because you tied in huge goals with a network. And I think sometimes, and I'm speaking for people who I have had great conversations with about this topic and myself, sometimes we forget that the goals that we've reached, we did not reach them alone. And the bigger the goal, the more people you need to help you with achieving it. I think it was Jim Collins who has BHAG, which is Big, Hairy, Audacious Goals. I want to say I read a book about that. And it starts with, according to him, it starts with a vision statement. And for me, it started with a vision board because I'm more of a visual learner. I think in order to set goals, you have to figure out who you are, what makes you tick, what motivates you, and how will your goal translate so that you can actually make it come to fruition. You have to set, another term people use are SMART goals. Mm-hmm. Strategic, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. Mm-hmm. before you can make the big, hairy, audacious goal or the BHAG, you have to make the SMART goals. So when you have this huge, lofty goal, like I want to be the Secretary of Education, what are your small goals to become the Secretary of Education? Do you have the education? Do you know other people in government entities? Have you studied their resumes? Have you created relationships with people who are decision makers in that field? Everyone should have the BHAG goal, but you also have to have the SMART goals that align with the BHAG goal. And before you have that, you need to either write it down in a statement form or put it on a vision board with some photos. And for me, I have vision boards because that's just how I retain information, is through that medium.
So I want to throw this out there to you because I've been to your blog. What made you start blogging in the first place? And how does blogging contribute to your professional growth?
So, Will, you also asked me about my current job and have I felt like I was valued as a woman of color. So blogging started, my blog started in May. It's only August now. And I'm grateful that people like you are reading it because it means I'm not wasting my time. And the motivation behind writing it was I was trying to control my narrative. I was trying to be visible in a sea of people where I felt like I was invisible. And I was trying to reach an audience of students and education professionals who may not have the opportunities that this top research institution that I work has afforded to me. Like I mentioned, I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I grew up poor. I would have never in a million years thought that I would have the opportunity to work here, especially in a leadership position. So I'm grateful for that. And I want to inspire my friends, my family, my network of people who I know are watching me, because everybody watches everybody now because of social media, Facebook and such. I want to show them that if I can do it, they can do it too. So that's where the blog comes in. I interview people similar to how you do, inspirational leaders who have left a mark in higher ed, who value diversity and inclusion. I talk about my personal experiences on the blog. And of course, I sell myself so that after I'm done with my education, I can sell myself and market myself for opportunities for advancement. So the blog basically just serves as the gap in between who I am professionally and my personal goals, which is to create success and inspire other people to create their own success. I market myself as a higher education thought leader and student advocate, but I recognize that education was my way of, making it, but not everybody's going to get a doctorate degree like us. Like some people may get a trade or they may get a bachelor's or whatever and what have you, but as long as they know that continuing to be a lifelong learner will open up the doors of opportunity, then I've achieved my goal and I've helped them to create success.
I never intended to do it at all.
Really?
I had a bachelor's degree and my wife was like, "You need to go to grad school." I said, "Nope, tired of school. I ain't going to school." And she said, "You go to school?" No. And I saw her get her degrees and she was doing these things. And honestly, I started to feel resentment towards her. But that was on me because I wasn't doing anything. And I was like, you can't get mad at her because you're not doing anything with your life. You got to go get it. And once I made up my mind at that point of you have to find that thing that gets you going and where you want to go. And that's what changed it around for me. And that's how I ended up, I guess, where I am now.
That's great. And I think it makes a difference having those letters behind your name, it just helps to establish credibility. So I'm grateful. I'm on track, hopefully, to finish. I'm working on chapters 4 and 5 of my dissertation. I turn it in on the 31st to begin editing by the doctoral committee. You remember all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I should graduate December 2018.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thank you. I don't know, what doors is going to open or what's going to happen. But I'm just letting God lead the way.
Go ahead. So because you're at Vanderbilt,
Mm-hmm.
I just can't believe my wife and I were in Nashville. We didn't go because I always like being on a college campus. Every time I'm on a college campus, I get this renewed, this like energy, this buzz, because I'm always thinking about the conversations that are happening in the classes every day and in the courtyard and libraries and dorm rooms. So I'm like, man, I want to be here. And inshallah, I will get a higher ed position because I want to be a part of that. What has your work at one of the premier institutions of higher learning taught you about life? And what has your biggest loss taught you about yourself?
So I work for the Owen Graduate School of Management here at Vandy, and it's a business school. So our MBA students are graduating making upwards of $120,000 a year. And these are kids, really. I mean, as it relates to I'm older than them. Not to say that I'm a spring chicken, quote unquote, but I mean, these kids are becoming CEOs and VPs and consultants, and these kids are the decision makers of America. Our student profile is, I believe, maybe 11% international, 18% women, maybe 15% minority, quote unquote. It's around that range for our class profile. So that means that the majority of the students here are white males. And I mean, that's common in business school. But that means that our decision makers are mainly white males, which is common, and we see that all over America. It's time that more people got a seat at the table. As a mother, I am able to connect with other mothers, no matter their race. We're just all mothers, right? If I want a nursing room, I'll advocate for that because I'm a mother. I know I need to nurse my child. There's just a certain level of understanding that we have when we have someone in power who can vouch for us and who has been in our shoes. So what I've learned from working here is that more people need a seat at the table. More people need opportunities to be decision makers. And if the powers that be aren't willing to give us a seat, then we need to go back to that question about overcoming obstacles and feeding our faith instead of our fear, and get a chair and bring it to the table. Because I read an article, and minorities, everybody, African American, Native American, Hispanic, etc. We are going to grow in population size by 40% in the upcoming years. So we need to make our own decisions for ourselves. Men understand, a lot of them are in power, but women need to make decisions for women, So I've learned that from being here, how important it is that we groom our kids when they are coming right out the womb on what they need to do to be in these circles, be in these networks, become decision makers, get a quality education, and the like.
No doubt. And that's one of the things that when I talk about my podcast and how educators need to monetize and take control over their life and their career, it all stems, from what I see the lack of in our community of us creating business and those sorts of entities. We can talk all day about how Silicon Valley isn't hiring us. We can talk all day about VCs not giving us the capital. But when you have universities like North Carolina, AT&T, and Fisk, who are graduating these people with all of these STEM degrees, at some point, they need to hook up with brothers with getting their JDs from Howard and someone getting an MBA from somewhere else and say, we need to start this own company where we hire us and we build wealth that then goes into a community where we're spending money and that money is spreading to where we're building. Not only are we building tables, but we setting up other folks to build more tables.
Right.
And that is what sort of excites me, because when I talk to kids at the high school, it's all I just tell them, like, excellence is a habit. Like, don't come to me with that dribble. I expect greatness,
right,
from you. Which I look at them sometimes, I'm like, you got those Jordans on, man. Learn from this brother. This brother hadn't played in 30 years, but he's a billionaire.
Mm-hmm. He's still making money.
Still, because he knew the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what ultimately I hope that we learn is, marching is cool. And at times you need protest. But when you got the coin,
right,
you can make the decisions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Definitely. And one thing I will say is that over these past 3 years that I've been here, Vanderbilt has become a lot more diverse, a lot more inclusive, and they're working to grow they call us minority student population. And I'm proud to work at Vanderbilt because of that. I really am. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. It's beyond belief that God has even given me the opportunity to work here.
All right, now. So I'm opening up. Holla at your boy.
I got you. I got you.
So, we live in a time where everyone is so connected, and we're seeing everyone's lives just play out on the internet, on the gram and Facebook and Twitter. And it looks like everybody's balling out and doing all of these things. And sometimes you look at your own life and you go, I'm not where I need to be. How does someone, write their own story and actually fully own who they are, but especially without comparing their today to someone else's tomorrow?
Right. So, Will, I don't know if there will ever be an app equivalent to Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat called Authentic, but it would be great if there was a social media app called Authentic, because I'm not Beyonce and I didn't wake up like this. I mean, before we even had this call, my first concern was, let me put some lipstick on, God, because I don't know who's going to see this. I'm like, maybe I should have worn my hair down. I know you have a huge audience. I want to look my best. But reflecting on it now, the only person I can be is me. And if you don't accept that, then it's your loss, because I'm a great person. I'll be just upfront and honest with you, because I think that it's important. Being authentic is important. It's hard. It is hard. Scrolling through and seeing your peers in Bora Bora and all these other places having the time of their life. And I am working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, taking care of 2 kids and going to school and just doing all kinds of stuff and feeling like, when is my vacation coming? But I'm 32, so I lived without the whole social media craze, if you will. So I know that people can present themselves one way and be a completely different person outside of Instagram and such. So I know better, but I do, and I am concerned. I have concerns for the younger generations, particularly my daughter, who's 4, and of course doesn't have a cell phone. But if it's still something that is popular, I don't even want her involved in it, because I do hear teenagers or younger people, even in their 20s, who really think that is the life of these people. Like, these people are like internet celebrities. So I don't know. I would just err on the side of caution as it relates to airing out, sharing who you are on social media. I would err on the side of caution. I would encourage people to be their authentic selves. And yes, live your best life. And yes, nobody wants to, see you and when you're down and out, but just be as real as you can be, because the world is watching you. And the suicide rate is high now. Mental health is a crisis in our community. And it has a lot to do with what we talked about earlier, which is my definition of success is just being happy. We spend too much time absorbing ourselves with Instagram and Facebook and comparing our identities to phony identities of people online that they've just created, which is not factual. And even people listening to me, when they hear this, they probably won't realize all of the hard work and effort that I put in every day to look presentable at work. That I have to wake up at 6 a.m. for yoga, then drop my kids off. Well, first I drop my kids off, then I have yoga, then I come to work, then I have class, then I have a call with my classmates about the class or the dissertation I'm working on. I still got a husband, so I got to do what wives do for husbands. I got to cook, I got to clean, I got to do all the things that wives do for husbands. So like, it is a lot of work, and people don't see the pictures of that. They don't see you driving through rush hour traffic, honking at the man driving slow in front of you. They don't see you waking up with a bad hair day, a broken nail, tripping and falling on your way coming into work. Like, they don't see all of your flub up moments. They just see you well put together. So they need an authentic app. They need an app to share how this person got to Bora Bora, all the work that they did to get there. And, or even if they are in Bora Bora, they could be, in Fort Lauderdale, saying they're in Bora Bora. You don't even know. You don't even know what's really going on.
Awesome. I'm having a really good conversation, Carjie.
Good. I am too, Will. This is therapeutic for me. I love talking. Hopefully it's meaningful. So I'm really grateful that you reached out. It means a lot to me.
Well, thank you for coming on and sharing your stories and of yourself. Before we go, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received from another educator or someone who you looked up to? And what is your advice to those educators who feel stuck in their careers?
So my mentor here at Vandy is Dr. Tina Smith. Dr. Tina Smith got her EDD from Tennessee State University, and she is one of the realest vice chancellors you will ever meet. She took me. We've gone out a few times, and she just breathes life into me. And she tells me to be my authentic self. And if I want to say yeah instead of yes, then say yeah. And just bow out gracefully when I'm hit with a challenge that I don't think I can accomplish. Or if I need help, ask for help. I don't have to know everything. And that there's enough success to go around for everybody at the institution. So she's made it to this vice chancellor level. She wants to help more people make it there. Like, she is, those are all the reasons why I like her, is because I relate to her. She's a Black woman. She's real. She went to a HBCU. She has an EDD, not a PhD, even though we know they're both doctorate degrees. She's still just as valuable because you know the whole side conversation about that.
Yeah, I do.
And she's someone who is paving the way for people like me. And she's inspiring me to pave the way for others. So that's the advice that she's given me. So the advice that I would give to other people who may feel stuck is control your narrative, write your own path. You may have a certain 9 to 5 and goals and things that you need to accomplish. After you master those goals, spread your wings and get involved in other arenas outside of your organization or within or committees within your organization. Think strategically and figure out what gaps need to be filled that other people in power may be overlooking. Apply for that job that you might not be qualified for. Take a boss or somebody out to lunch or buy them a cup of coffee and tell them you appreciate them even when it's not their birthday. Just live in the moment, and realize that maybe you're in this season or you're feeling stuck because you're supposed to be stuck, and it's just time for you to bloom where you're planted. That's what I would say.
That's all right. That is all right. Thank you, Carjie, for coming on the show. You started out, I thought I was going to have to break out this curtain right here and do that right there.
Hey, the only person I don't know how to be is me, Will. So I hope I was okay.
Oh yeah, you brought it home. I mean, I just want people who listen to my podcast, and though I know I talk about entrepreneurship and the hustle, and I do have these other shows, but I just want people to just take one step toward their goals, no matter what it is. And I believe if you can take that first step, then you can do it. And I thank you for coming on the show. I now have a title for the show because of your answers. And so I'm gonna put this thing out there. So I'm very excited about it and to share with everyone. Because I think this is going to be one of those shows that people are like, all right, I'm ready.
Good. Then I've served my purpose today.
Awesome. So people, thank you who will be watching and listening in the future. We had Carjie on the show, sharing of herself, giving of herself. Hopefully you are inspired to look inward and become the person that you were meant to become. You know how I do this. The video cast is going up on YouTube. I need you to subscribe. Leave some comments. The podcast is going up on iTunes and SoundCloud. I need you to follow, subscribe, leave your comments, rate some ratings for a brother. Give me some 5s because your boy's trying to get Oprah on the show. And
hey, Will.
So what?
Can I shout out my blog?
Yes.
My blog is carjiescott.com. CarjieScott.com.
Yes. And in the post, there's going to be a link that'll take you to her blog. Go check that out. Go read. Share with everyone you know, people. Again, Carjie, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
You are welcome, people. As always, invest in you. EDU. Peace.